Hello everyone, a warm greetings of the day. My name is Sapna Karma and I am a radiology student. And today I am going to share with you all a very important and interesting topic, pulmonary tuberculosis imaging. Tuberculosis, also known as TB, is one of the world's oldest and most persistent infectious diseases. It is caused by a bacteria called Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which primarily affects the lungs, but it can also spread to other parts of the body, such as the brain, bones, kidneys, and lymph nodes. TB is a contagious airborne infection. It spreads from one person to another with active TB when they cough, sneeze, or even talk, releasing tiny droplets containing the bacteria into the air. When another person inhales these droplets, infection may occur. Historically, TB was once known as consumption because of how it made patients extremely weak and thin. The bacteria are believed to be more than 3 million years old, and despite major advances in medicine, tuberculosis remains a leading cause of death worldwide. So here the radiology comes in play. Radiology and imaging it plays a crucial role in detecting, diagnosing, and monitoring this disease. Through various tools and equipment, radiologists can identify early lung changes, cavities, and lesions that help confirm TB long before the symptoms become severe. So, I will take you through various components which will include a research paper, a book chapter review, a case study, and lab demonstration. Each of these sections will help us understand pulmonary tuberculosis from a clinical, academic, and practical imaging point of view. So, first, I would like to share with you all with a research paper. So before you all, I present my research paper, and for my research paper reference, I have chosen an article published in the Clinical Microbiology newsletter written by Georgina Gonzalez Tarazona and Andrea Torres Contreras. So the author here highlights that tuberculosis remains a major global health issue, especially in developing countries. In 2020, nearly 10 million people were infected worldwide, with TB ranking as the second most deadly infectious disease after COVID-19. The paper also notes the socio-economic burden of TB, particularly in the age group of 50 to 54, where loss of productivity and long recovery periods cause severe impact. So in conclusion, the author stressed that radiological imaging remains an indispensable tool for early detection, evaluation, and follow-up in tuberculosis management. Now, next, I would like to present you all with a book chapter which will give us a better understanding about the topic that we are discussing today. So, for my book, I have referred to The Imaging of Pulmonary Tuberculosis Made Easy, as this is the book which gives us a simple idea about pulmonary tuberculosis and imaging. It describes TB as a chronic granulomatous infection caused by a bacteria called tuberculosis, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So, the importance of radiology is that imaging helps differentiate TB from other lung diseases such as pneumonia or lung cancer, and the various X-rays are essential for diagnosis, and while these scans provide detailed evaluation and disease extent and treatment progress. So the textbook here emphasizes that accurate patient positioning, exposure, and interpretation plays a vital role in radiography for diagnosing the pulmonary tuberculosis. And now, before you all, I would like to present a case study video which I have gone through. So here before you all, I present with a case study video.
In 2008, archaeologists uncovered two 9,000-year-old skeletons. There's no definitive way of knowing what killed these ancient people, but we do know their bones were infected by an all too familiar bacterium. The ancient Greeks knew its consumptive effects as phthisis. The Incans called it chaki-onke, and the English called it tuberculosis. Today, tuberculosis, or TB, is still one of the world's
So these were the various names that was given to tuberculosis before the actual name was discovered.
biggest infectious killers, causing more deaths than malaria or even HIV and AIDS. But what exactly is this disease, and how has this pathogen persisted for so long? Typically, TB bacteria, called Mycobacterium tuberculosis, are airborne. They travel into our airways and infect our lungs. Here, immune cells called macrophages rush to the infection site, attempting to absorb and break down the bacterial invaders. In many cases, this response is enough to remove the bacteria, but in individuals with other medical conditions, ranging from malnutrition and HIV to diabetes and pregnancy, the immune response may not be strong enough to destroy the intruder. If so, Mycobacterium tuberculosis will reproduce inside those macrophages and
As the people mentioned in this video, their immune system is not so strong enough to fight against the bacteria. Hence, they are the person who are more prone to tuberculosis rather than the person with a healthy immune system. So from here we can even say that being a healthy individual with a strong immunity is very important in order to prevent such kind of diseases.
form colonies in the surrounding lung tissue. As they infect more cells, the bacteria employs cell-degrading enzymes that destroy the infected tissue, triggering chest pain and causing patients to cough up blood. The damage to the lungs leads to oxygen deprivation. This begins a flood of hormonal changes, including a decrease in appetite and iron production. From here, microbes can spread to the skeletal system, causing back pain and difficulty moving, to the kidneys and intestines, causing abdominal pain.
So before this, they have mentioned some of the symptoms which we can see in a person who is suffering from tuberculosis. So it could be persistent cough which will last for around 1 month or more. It could even lead to chest pain, and even while coughing, the person could see some of the blood from the cough. Even the person may feel the symptoms like night sweat and fever, fatigue, and loss of appetite, and obviously weight loss, which make the person look very thin and malnutrition.
And to the brain, causing headaches and even impaired consciousness. These symptoms produce the classic image of TB: weight loss, a hacking bloody cough, and ashen skin. This ghostly appearance earned TB the title of the White Plague in Victorian-era England. During this period, tuberculosis was considered a romantic disease because it tended to affect poverty-stricken artists and poets, those with weaker immune systems. TB's outward symptoms even helped fuel the popular myth of vampirism. In spite of, or perhaps because of, these less than scientific concerns, this period also marked the first strides toward curing TB. In 1882, the German physician Robert Koch identified the disease's bacterial origins. 13 years later, physicist Wilhelm Röntgen discovered the X-ray, enabling physicians to diagnose and
So, Sir W.C. Röntgen is the one who discovered X-rays, and through which today we can diagnose the tuberculosis in a very early stage so that we could, like stop the spreading of it, and we could save a person or any other person from getting it spread. So, there are Other methods for diagnosis as well, we can go for skin tests, even we can go for blood tests as well. And obviously, the imaging plays a very vital role in the diagnosis of tuberculosis.
And track its progression through the body. These techniques allowed researchers to develop reliable and effective vaccines, first for smallpox and again in 1921 when
So as they were talking for vaccination, so this comes in the prevention. So there are very much advancements in the medicine right now. So people could go for BCG vaccine for infants, which could prevent the spreading of tuberculosis. And they can even isolate during early treatment. And obviously, proper ventilation, mask use, and completing the full course of medicine is very much essential for the prevention of tuberculosis.
scientists developed the BCG vaccine to battle TB. These developments laid the groundwork for the modern field of antibiotics, currently home to our most effective TB treatments. But antibiotics fail to address a major diagnostic complication. About 90% of people infected with TB don't show any symptoms. In these latent infections, the TB bacterium may be dormant, only activating when someone's immune system is too weak to mount a defense.
So adding to this, there are various types of tuberculosis. First one is primary TB, which is the initial infection, often no symptoms, as mentioned in the video. Second one is latent TB, bacteria remain dormant, not contagious. The third one is active TB, bacteria multiply frequently causing illness, and it is contagious. And the last is the extrapulmonary tuberculosis, which spreads to other organs as well, except the lungs, which could be bones, brain, spine, etc.
This makes TB much harder to diagnose, and even when properly identified, traditional treatments can take up to 9 months, requiring multiple drugs and a high potential for side effects. This discourages people from finishing the full course, and partial treatment enables bacteria to develop resistance to these drugs. Today, the disease is still prevalent in 30 countries, most of which face other health crises that exacerbate TB and trigger latent cases. Worse still, accessing treatment can be difficult in many of these countries, and the stigma towards TB can discourage people from getting the help they need. Health experts agree we need to develop better diagnostics, faster acting antibiotics, and more effective vaccines. Researchers have already developed a urine test that yields results in 12 hours, as well as a new oral treatment that could cut treatment time by 75%. Hopefully, with advancements like these, we'll finally be able to make TB exclusively a thing of the past.
So this was the video, and adding to it, there are various complications of tuberculosis which could, lead to lung damage, even the spinal and bone infection. It could even lead to kidney or liver failure and heart inflammation. So from this video, I wanted to show you all that how the history and the modern tuberculosis is and how it remains as the major concern in society. So last but not the least, I would like to share you all with my lab demonstration video for a better understanding and better clarity. So here before you all, I present my lab demonstration video.
Welcome to Radiology Department. So today I will be explaining you the procedures and the positioning of the patient that we usually do in tuberculosis patient. So for that,
Before directly diving into the positioning and patient handling situation, first let's focus onto the radiology lab. So beside me, you could see a blue apron hanging on the wall. So basically that is a lead apron and it must be worn by a radiographer or a radiologist while doing a scan. Even this can be provided to patients as well so that we could prevent scatter radiation and the patient dose. So on the wall of it, you can see the alara, which is as low as reasonably achievable. So these play a vital role in the field of radiology, which means that as much as low radiation should be provided to a patient, and in that we must get the best image out of it. So now let's dive into the video.
We have a patient with us today, so through which I will be demonstrating you what are the possible positions that could be usually done. The procedure, we have to make sure that the patient does not have any metallic objects in the body. For that reason, we need to take consent from the patient so that we could check the body and we could remove any metallic objects because it could disrupt the imaging which we are going to produce.
So, as I mentioned about consent, taking consent in medical field is very much crucial, important. So, taking consent means that we have access to the patient because if we aren't taking consent, we might, they might feel uncomfortable. And while the procedures, we have to touch the patient, and at that moment they won't be feeling comfortable, and they might hesitate in the procedure. So, taking consent and explaining the whole procedure to them is very much important, and it helps in a smooth diagnosis treatment process.
So now we will be moving forward with the positioning. So there are two possible ways from which we can use. So for that we can even use this chest stand or even the hockey table. So but this chest stand is most preferable, and there are two ways from which we could do, that is the PA view and the AP view. So now firstly we will be going to look what PA view is. So in PA view, the patient will be facing the chest stand, and we have to make sure that the hands are apart so that we could get a clear.
Why we should keep the hands apart from the chest area is that while the hands are close intact with the chest area, while we produce an image, the bone portions of the hand might be visible. So we must make sure that the patient hand is apart from the area of interest where we are going to produce the sound.
Image. So in this, the X-rays is going to pass from the back to the frontal portion. And even we need to make sure that the patient chin is not in contact with the cassette. We need to make sure that the chin is slightly tilted upward so that we could get a clearer image and the thoracic portion is cut. So this is the another way through which we can obtain the image. So in this, the patient will be lying on the bucky and the X-rays will be falling onto her body.
So this was my last demonstration video, and I hope that you all have got a clearer view. So I have talked about the views from which we could take or produce the scans. So these views help us identify the various cavities, nodules in our body so that we could have a clearer image. So, lastly, to summarize, pulmonary tuberculosis imaging plays a fundamental role in diagnosing, managing, and preventing the spread of TB. Through this presentation, we have explored through the research paper from Clinical Microbiology newsletter, the theoretical explanation from standard radiology textbook, a case study video showing the history and the modern tuberculosis scenario, a lab demonstration video where I have explained about the imaging procedures and positioning. So I hope together we highlight how imaging serves as the backbone of tuberculosis detection from the first chest X-ray to the final follow-up. I hope now you all have got a clearer understanding about this particular topic. Thank you so much for your attention.